On September 25th, 1890, over 3,000 horses lined up on the sunny beach of San Diego. The purpose? To participate in the largest, most ambitious horse race in all of human history. From the warm waves from the California Pacific to the chilly waters of the New York Atlantic. The Steel Ball Run was a horse race across the entire continent of North America. Through treacherous snow and scorching deserts, this race brought together the greatest horse jockeys from around the globe, and the winner was to take home $50 million. But as cool and epic the Steel Ball Run was, unfortunately, the race never existed. The Steel Ball Run race is an event that takes place in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 7 Steel Ball Run. Recently, the anime adaptation of the arc was finally announced, and it's got a lot of people hyped up. I was not immune either. I too got infected by the hype virus, and then I got that itch, that nagging creative itch, that passion in my soul. I didn't really want to just make a news video that's not really my style, even though that would basically be like free views. I mean, god damn! And I've already given my thoughts on Steel Ball Run across multiple videos now, so it would be redundant to just regurgitate the same points again. But then, some random guy sent me this DM. That is stupid, and yet so am I. Arthur Morgan, born in 1863, was one of the greatest cowboys of his fake generation, and the protagonist of my favorite Rockstar game. This guy knows horses. This guy knows combat. Arthur Morgan is a man's man, a man's man who knows how to get stuff done. And considering Arthur Morgan is one of my favorite cowboys, and Steel Ball Run is one of my favorite cowboy stories, I think it's time to run a little thought experiment. If Arthur Morgan was in Steel Ball Run, could he win the Steel Ball Run horse race? Well, the first obstacle Arthur would need to overcome is the entry fee. Steven Steele is not running a charity. If you want in on the Steel Ball Run race, you better be ready to cough up a crisp $1,200 bill. And you see, that might actually be a problem for Arthur. Arthur is an outlaw who runs with the notorious Vanderlyn gang, a gang so broke they had to eat Kieran. Nah, I'm kidding, they'd never do that. Besides, Pearson's the one with more meat on him. But you see, being broke, it's okay, because their boss Dutch, he has a plan. Arthur just needs some money for Dutch. Dutch, he has a plan, okay? He's gonna solve everything. Just have some goddamn faith, Arthur! Have some goddamn faith! And then once they get money, the whole crew can escape to Tahiti, which Dutch describes as like Outlaws Wakanda, apparently. Not sure Dutch knows Tahiti was annexed by France about 20 years prior. I think if Dutch knew he was willingly trying to move to France, he'd change his mind. Fortunately, $1,200 is pretty feasible with a little bit of elbow grease, so let's just say Arthur's been saving up for this race. And he is determined to win it so that Dutch and the rest of the gang can use that money to finally escape. So let's size up the competition, shall we? The Steel Ball Run race was a big deal. I mean, $50 million for a horse race that anyone can join? Sure, Arthur Morgan is talented and all, but is he more talented than a descendant of Genghis Khan? Or more talented than a guy with a machine gun arm? Or even a guy who is sometimes British and also sometimes a dinosaur? I think the greatest enemy facing Arthur in the Steel Ball Run race is not a man, but himself. The Steel Ball Run race took about 5 months to complete. Makes sense, it is the 1800s after all, it's not like they can just hop on the 40. A lot of the more prominent racers in the race are all young dudes in their peak physical form. I mean, just look at these guys. How is it even possible to get those kind of muscles back in the 1800s? This guy literally eats rocks. Where is your protein coming from? Arthur Morgan is between 35 and 36. And being 35 today is basically like being 100. But being 35 in the 1800s? That makes him like 300 at least. But even worse than that, Arthur Morgan is dying of tuberculosis. Fortunately, even without modern medicines like streptomycin, tuberculosis does take its sweet time to end a life. So realistically, Arthur would have enough time to survive the entire Steel Ball Run race, but he would be severely weakened by the illness. But it's a horse race, right? Pfft, being weak? Who cares? It's the horse doing all the hard work. It's not like there's gonna be any fighting in a horse race. Now let's talk about horses. Believe it or not, but horses play a really big role in the success of a racer in a horse race. And unfortunately, not all horses are created equal. Some are bred for speed, some are bred for stamina, and some are bred to be rode by dudes under 6 feet. With so many racers in the Steel Ball Run, there's all sorts of different horses. Avdol 2.0 rides a camel, which, I mean, okay, yeah, he got the stamina thing down. Camels are known for long distance travel, but I think a camel might be a little too slow for a horse race. One guy even enters with a mechanical horse. It's a car. Okay, number 1, why is this allowed? And number 2, you're stupid. Cars are only good on roads, dumbass. Yeah, have fun driving through the Colorado mountains with your metal coffin. You're so stupid, I'm getting angry. Where would you even go to refuel on Oh. Johnny Joe Starr, one of the 2 protagonists of Steel Ball Run, rides a horse named Slow Dancer. Slow Dancer is an Appaloosa, and what's weird is that when Johnny first selects this horse, his life partner Gyro was all like, "Whoa, you picked a really good horse for this race." But I've been doing my research and no, Appaloosas are apparently not good race horses, so I don't know what Gyro was talking about. Okay, you know what? In Gyro's defense, he doesn't necessarily say the Appaloosa is good because of its breed, but it's good because it's an old horse with experience. Well, Gyro, how about you experience a shower for once in your life? Talk about PU. Apparently, in some cases, Appaloosas can be decent racers, but pretty much exclusively in short distance races. Short distance races. This is the most research on horses I have ever done in my entire life. White woman YouTube video. Diego rides a young English Arabian named Lone Star. Diego actually chose a really smart pick for a horse. English Arabians were bred in England during the 1800s to be the ultimate race horses. Speed, stamina, strength, they excel at all of that. Diego's Lone Star is also 4 years old, which is the perfect sweet spot for a racehorse. Old enough to be strong and yet young enough to still be full of energy. Since Diego is some rich, famous, aristocratic horse racer from England, it makes perfect sense that Diego chose this horse. I am kind of surprised. Araki did do his horse research. Unlike the characters in Steel Ball Run who have canonical horse picks, Arthur doesn't, which means we, yes we, both you and I, get to pick what kind of horse Arthur brings to the race. Arthur Morgan has access to all sorts of different horses in Red Dead 2. So picking a horse is as easy as picking out whichever horse would be best suited for a super long distance multi-climate race. In Red Dead 2, the best horse you can get as Arthur Morgan is the White Arabian. A beautiful yet super rare horse with jacked stats that only spawns in very specific secluded parts of the map, and even then, they rarely like to show up. But what makes the White Arabian so good is its great distribution of stats. But for the Steel Ball Run race, the only stat that really matters is stamina. Speed doesn't really matter as much as you might think it would in a race like this. This is not some lame-ass 5-minute race around a track. This is a multi-month race across a continent. And for a race like this, the tortoise will always beat the hare. Fortunately, at the Scarlet Meadows stable, Arthur Morgan can buy a Missouri Foxtrotter, a workhorse bred for stamina. Unlike other horse breeds, Missouri Foxtrotters are not racehorses. But the Steel Ball Run is not a normal horse race, and short bursts of speed are only really good for getting that sweet bonus time reduction to your final time that's given to the first racer to reach specific checkpoints. But even those time bonuses are only like an hour taken off, which sound like a lot at first, but really it isn't. And sure, Arthur might not be a trained professional racer, but he is a cowboy. And I reckon he's probably spent 5 times the amount of time with horses than that preppy boy Johnny ever could. So from a racing perspective, I think Arthur has a really good shot at performing well in the Steel Ball Run. But there's something I've neglected to mention about the race. Technically, any form of disruption, interference, or violence against another racer is grounds for immediate disqualification. This is a race for pioneers after all, we're not animals. The only exception to this rule being if you're quite literally the crowd favorite, in which case you get nothing more than a slap on the wrist. Goddamn pretty privilege. In universe, the Steel Ball Run race is like the most popular event in human history. Everyone on the planet is watching, and they're watching very closely. But in between the towns bustling with people, the railroads the spectators use, inside the forests too thick for hot air balloons to watch, well, that's where things get a little bloody. And with $50 million on the line, some people are willing to do anything. Here's where things get dicey. Steel Ball Run has a really unique power creep for a JoJo's part, which is an aspect that makes the progression through the story so satisfying. At the beginning of Steel Ball Run, there is very little, if any, supernatural ability shenanigans, and even once Standabilities get reintroduced into the series, a lot of the early stands are really weak. Like Rope Guy. Is Arthur Morgan really gonna struggle against Rope Man? Rope Man? Dude, the only thing Rope Man Timothy is good at is hitting on 14-year-old girls. Was he the world's first Minecraft YouTuber or right-wing grifter? Arthur Morgan is a gunslinger, and a damn good shot too. And even though Arthur Morgan lacks a stand ability, I think he'd be able to hold his own against stand users, because guns remain pretty effective all throughout Steel Ball Run. And even the best gunslingers in Steel Ball Run, people like Ringo Rodigan, I mean, just look how many gunshots Ringo needs to get the job done. Look at that zesty-ass firing pose. His ass is not a professional. Dude would rather take the mother plane into the World Serve Center than practice proper marksmanship. Arthur Morgan regularly solos entire armies with nothing but a pea shooter. But the best part is, even though Arthur Morgan lacks a JoJo's Universe signature special ability, that doesn't mean he doesn't have one of his own. In Red Dead 2, Arthur has access to an ability called Deadeye. And when you activate it, time slows down, making easy shots for Arthur. For a gunslinger, there is no better ability, because not only does it give him a lot of extra time to perfectly aim his shot, but it also prevents anyone he's shooting at from dodging or blocking. Seriously, what are you supposed to do against Deadeye? What in is that a goddamn dinosaur? So yeah, I really don't think Arthur would have too many problems getting into scuffles with other racers, especially considering most of them probably don't have any special powers of their own. But also, who's to say during the Steel Ball Run race, Arthur Morgan wouldn't develop a stand ability of his own? Okay, if you're unfamiliar with Steel Ball Run, this is gonna sound really crazy, but bear with me here. Unfortunately, the true nature of the Steel Ball Run race was not to have a fun competitive race across America. The actual purpose of the race was to allow the US government to locate and reconstruct the corpse of Jesus Christ, which has since been divided up and scattered across North America, because clearly everyone knows that Jesus of Jerusalem obviously went to America thousands of years ago before people of the old world even knew it existed. And after he died in America, his body parts, they were like spread out. No one talks about how Araki's silent confirmed Mormonism to be the one true religion in the JoJo's universe. The corpse was the downfall of many competent racers in the Steel Ball Run race. Those who learned of the corpse and the power it could bestow became apathetic towards the race, and took detours and pointless reckless fights just for the opportunity to get their hands on a corpse part. And even once you acquire a corpse part, you not only become a huge target for anyone else looking to seize that power, but you also become an enemy of the entire US government. Whether or not Arthur has a good chance at winning the Steel Ball Run race changes drastically if Arthur Morgan decides to get involved with the corpse shenanigans. It's not easy to quell that sort of temptation. Not only could the corpse offer Arthur new abilities that might be useful in self-defense, but it would also have the power to cure Arthur's tuberculosis. Arthur would be forced to make a difficult decision between seeking the corpse to save himself, or prioritize winning the race so the rest of the Vanderland gang gets the money they need to escape America and live long, happy lives. In the manga, the person who wins the Steel Ball Run race is Diego Brando, but shortly after winning, he gets killed epic style by the 14-year-old girl. Why? Because of the corpse. If Diego never got involved with the corpse, it's likely he would have still won the race, and he'd be able to go home with $50 million. But instead, the prize money goes to the runner-up, a dude named Poco Loco. Poco Loco never got involved with the corpse. The entire race, he kept his head down and focused exclusively on winning. And that is, in my opinion, the true key to winning the Steel Ball Run race. The corpse is not worth it, because most people who sought after it ended up dead. Would Arthur Morgan be a better racer than Poco Loco? It's hard to say. We don't really know all too much about Poco Loco, but considering the guy who finishes right after Poco Loco looks like this, I don't know, man. I feel like Arthur Morgan has a really good shot. If Arthur Morgan entered the Steel Ball Run race, kept his head down and focused exclusively on winning, ignoring the corpse and staying clear of unnecessary fighting, yes, I personally believe Arthur Morgan would win the Steel Ball Run race. But you know who's an even better cowboy than Arthur Morgan? Me! If I entered the Steel Ball Run race with my trusty steed, Chewy Horse 1, we would clean house. And not only would we win the race, but because I'm goated, I would also collect every single corpse part and rebuild Jesus Christ. And then I'll use the power of the corpse to become the first person to break through the ice wall so we can all go to the uninhabited land of Hyperborea, where I will settle it as the new country of Chewy Dog Nation. And if you want to be a citizen of the new and glorious Chewy Dog Nation, all you have to do is subscribe.